What's up, everybody? My name is Kyphxr and welcome back to Kult Rising. We've made a little bit of progress since the last episode. As you can see, we've once again rearranged the UI a little bit. We need to move this button, but we've put this counter from over here over to here. I think I'm going to put more along this top bar. This top bar here isn't finished, but we've added functionality to some more of these. While this just has a container, this one, there's no commands set up, but there is a console there. Did I add anything else? I actually don't think I did. So I think that's it for the HUD at the moment. I need to move this rock. But as you can see, we've begun adding our first dungeon entrance here. I'm not sure exactly how I want this to look. I'm trying to find some sort of a mix between looking like it's actually underwater, but then also looking like it's land that was submerged underwater. Because that's kind of like the vibe that I'm going for here, obviously with the trees and everything. But if we come over to the character here, it's still not completely finished, but we have textured the main base up here. And so it's not just gray box, but if we head down here, we can come over to this dungeon entrance. And actually I can show you, as you can see in the left there, that's the counter, but there's now charge jump. So you can just jump, or you can charge your jump and jump higher. I still gotta work out like the exact jump heights that I want, but the logic is there. I also gotta fix these stairs because as you can see, they don't work properly. But if we come through here, then you come into the first dungeon. And so I've been kind of trying to play around with how I want to do these layouts. This isn't set up, but I think the way I'm gonna do it is sort of, I mean, honestly, it's kind of typical of the way that Backrooms games are set up, where whenever you go down levels, it'll take you to basically not a totally random level, but one of a selection of levels. And so there's a couple exits to this first area, but each of these like big areas here will have different like enemy spawns. I might put like a boss room somewhere out here, but this is kind of the general idea of how the dungeons are gonna work, at least for now. And then actually, I wonder why that's not displaying. I did make level title cards that tell you like what world you're in when you enter, and I'm not sure why that doesn't show up there, so I need to fix that. But you'll go through the dungeons, you'll clear them out, pretty typical dungeon crawler content, and then once you clear the level, you'll go down to the next one. And then I'm not sure what the exit system is gonna be for dungeons, whether it's gonna be like floor based, so like every say 5 floors that you clear, you'll have the opportunity to, like every 5 floors that you clear, an exit door will spawn, and then you can either choose to take it and head back out, or you can choose to just keep going deeper if you want better loot. But I'm not sure exactly how that system is going to work yet, because like I've said in some of the previous episodes, well, not the main mechanic, but the core area of the game is going to involve a very similar system, and it's actually going to use this elevator here. We're on one of the elevator floors, and so I'm not sure if this dungeon system here is also going to operate based off the elevator. Maybe that is what I'll do, and then you extract out of the dungeon, and then you'll come back up in your base up here. Can you see your base in this view? You can't. Okay, I don't know why I'm doing this. But then you'll come back up, and I need to build an elevator entrance. I think it's supposed to be this one. I think is where the elevator is. But then that way I won't have to code a separate exit system where you respawn like at the dungeon door where you entered. You'll just come out through the elevator up here, and then it'll have the same sort of gameplay loop to the scavenger game mode that we'll be adding later, the like Lethal Company sort of game mode. And so this will basically be like more of a combat oriented version of the same thing, I think, where you go through, you clear the dungeon, and then at the end you have to complete an extraction event, and if you die, you don't get to keep your stuff that you got, and if you live, you do get to keep the new loot that you got. I also need to start working on the crafting menu because I have like some of the logic set up for the actual crafting, and I have the actual like menu here set up, the diegetic menu, but I just need to set up the like logic and start adding like the, well, one, I need it to populate based on your inventory instead of just default loading this, and then I need to add interactivity so you can add things into the crafting area and then actually start crafting items. Okay, so I got this really cool asset from 50 Berry, and so we've hooked that up now. And so we've actually set that up to the Switch because that makes more sense. But you can see now that whenever we press Z, instead of switching to the FPS character, we now switch to the swinging character, which, like I said, makes sense because this character was always going to be integrated with the one that we're currently playing with. But if we head down here, we can give a little bit of a demonstration of how this character looks. And obviously the animations themselves are a little bit rough around the edges, and it needs a little bit of balancing because some of the range is a little bit too much sometimes, but I'm really happy with this. As you can see, like there, the range is kind of crazy. Some of these trees, okay, well, I'm just bad actually. Some of the trees, for whatever reason, had their collisions turned off, and it took me like 15 minutes to figure out why I couldn't grapple from the trees before I realized that they literally just had their hitboxes turned off. But we have implemented the charge jump mechanic, and so like Spider-Man, you can charge up your jump before, and we have to tune most of these things. So the jump, I'm really not sure what to do for the jump. I need to make the jumping physics feel a lot more grounded. It feels super floaty right now, and animations are part of it, but like I think the gravity is the biggest issue. Falling back down feels super light. But I'm really happy with how this feels. I need to add... Oh, sick, that works. I wasn't actually sure if it was gonna work. Okay, so I don't even need to set up the... I don't even need to set up the death trigger. Whenever you die, it automatically detects it because it's set on the same blueprint. But I've been distracted the past like 5 or 10 minutes. I've literally just been swinging around doing this, which I think means I'm doing something right because that's kind of the goal of what we're aiming for. And so I have a car controller. I'm gonna need to get that set up, but especially for this, well, actually, I guess specifically for this level, I'll need to create like sort of an area to drive because all these rocks and everything, you're just not gonna be able to drive anywhere. Like some of the main levels of the game, it'll be a lot easier to drive because they were designed like specifically with that in mind. But when I initially created this level, I didn't really intend for that. But at this point, I kind of just want to make this level like a full vertical slice of all of the game mechanics. So you really have access to all of the game mechanics while you're here and you can test everything out. And so because of that, I'm gonna need to add an area for driving. But it might be a little hard to tell because this skeleton is messed up. But Oh, there you go. If I do that, you can see. So it's based on the, it's actually not based on Spider-Man swinging. It's based on Attack on Titan, the ODM gear, which is actually something that I was kind of intending on. And so when I found this asset, it was just kind of perfect. And then when you press Z, you just switch back to the regular character. And so what I think this is actually going to be one of the switchable characters. And I think it kind of makes sense because you'll have a little bit of like mobility, I guess movement abilities on this character. But then this character will be like specifically focused on mobility. And so whenever you're playing this one, you'll have, I don't know if you'll have any combat abilities. It might just be purely mobility. And then if you get to an enemy, like if you get over here to this guy, I do need to make sure the enemies will target you even when you're in this mode, because if I run over here, you can see this golem's just gonna ignore me, right? So I do need to make it so they will attack me, but this way there's not really anything you can do, so you have the benefit of the extreme mobility. But if you want to enter combat, you have to switch back to your regular character. And then I'm going to add some way to... I'm basically going to build the system out to kind of dynamically switch between the two. So you can kind of like boost around and then attack and then switch back and boost around, and then that way you get kind of this like really high mobility but still close quarters combat. I think is kind of going to be what I'm aiming for. And you can see I have a little, it's meant to be more like a tracer blink. I think the problem is these two controllers are currently stacking inputs, I think is the reason that this is going so far. But this is meant to be like a tracer blink, and so you'll have this on this main character. And then I still gotta build out the skill tree, but as I build out the skill tree, there will be certain ones that are more mobility focused. So whenever you're in this character, if you wanna make a more... Oh, I didn't know this hitbox was messed up. But if you want to make a more movement focused build with this character, you'll be able to do that. But then you'll still have, even if you want to create a build that's more focused on damage or support or something like that, you'll still have this character as like an added form of mobility. But you can still open your inventory here. I need to fix the inventory. It's actually broken at the moment because this widget is over top of it, and so you can't actually use the inventory. But you can see that the whole UI still works with this character. You just, I think I'm gonna add a basic attack because it doesn't really make sense to have nothing. And so I think I'm gonna come up with some sort of combo system where you can do like a chain of moves with your main character, switch to your mobility character, and then if you do like a certain combo, you'll like auto switch back to this character and do like a mega attack or something like that. But that's like kind of the lines that I'm thinking along for the combat system at the moment. Obviously everything is still subject to change. I've done very little with the combat. That's honestly, at the moment, it's kind of my third priority. I think my first priority right now is movement and mobility. Then after that, it's gonna be having at least this map, floor 7, and then at least a good amount of dungeon maps, which will be various, probably backrooms floors, and I don't know what else. Although backrooms floors covers basically everything. There's an infinite amount of backrooms floors, and so you can make a medieval castle and it's still a backrooms floor, right? So I gotta build out a dungeon system, and then this floor 7, and then SCP-3008. That's the second priority, and then the third priority is gonna be combat. And then intermittently in between those, we're working on the other game modes and stuff. But those are kind of the 3 big things that I'm looking for the actual launch of the game. And I'm not sure if this is going to be the end of the video. If it is though, well, if it's not, I'm going to cut myself off here, and then I'll just continue on with the video. But if it is, thank you everybody so much for watching. Please remember to like, comment, subscribe, and share for more. Check out the second channel for the scripted, more informative content, and I will see you next time.